All right, folks. We are getting word that it is time for our upcoming run. We are going to jump into Dead Space 2 Any Percent Casual run by sharkhat87. So Sharkhat, when you are ready, take it away.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm sharkhat87. I do a lot of horror game speedruns. This is my main speed game, so I'm very excited to show it off. Yeah, it looks like we're pretty much ready to get started. Got a lot to talk about with this run. But since the incentive was for German, we're going to select Neues Spiel here. So thank you for everyone who donated for that. I'm going to go ahead and get the run started. Time is going to begin after this loading screen ends. And once that gets started, we'll introduce our commentators and everything. So we're just going to go ahead and get started here. Select casual, and we're going to continue. So I'll give a countdown. So time is going to begin in about 3, 2, 1, go. All right, commentators, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hey everyone, my name is Radish. I have been a speedrunner of this game since 2020, and I'm happy to be commentating for Sharkhat.
Hello, I'm Smystery. I'm also a speedrunner of this game, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Hey everyone, I'm Meta. I don't run this game very much, but I have previously. I ran it as part of like a 12-hour challenge. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
All right, thanks everybody. So we just completed what we like to call Chapter 0. We're in Chapter 1 now, just sort of like the introduction to the game. So we're playing as Isaac Clarke. We're a space engineer who, after the events of the first game, was kind of captured, taken onto this facility. Whole bunch of lore stuff. You know, we helped build this artifact called the Marker that creates all these alien zombie creatures called necromorphs. As far as the speedrun goes, though, we are in a straitjacket right now. It's a special state we're only in for the first, minute or so of the game. But while we're in this state, we can't really do a whole lot. We can't melee, use weapons, interact with a lot of different things. Fortunately, we're going to get rid of that pretty much right here. We're introduced to this guy, Edgar. It's going to be really weird hearing this in German because I've heard this like thousands of times in English. So that'll be fun. We should probably go ahead and start talking about flashlight duping, though, because that's going to be one of the main glitches for Chapter 1. So, Radish, if you want to explain that.
Yeah. So flashlight duping is it's actually one of the most broken pieces of tech in the game, and it's very unfortunate because it only works in Chapter 1. The reason being is that you see that locker behind Isaac Clarke right now. That contains a flashlight, and the main purpose of the flashlight, besides being a flashlight, is it's actually gonna basically break interactions and cutscenes. And so the way that we abuse that is we actually use the tutorials tab, and we're gonna bring up the flashlight tutorial that we initially get here, and it's gonna break us out of any cutscene or any kind of weird interaction that we're in. Basically, it reverts our state back to default, and so we're able to do some pretty broken things with that. It is a big shame that it is only useful in a couple of scenarios. And for this run specifically, he's only going to be doing it, I believe, once, because it doesn't actually save time RTA.
It is... Actually, yes. I might do both anyway. I think doing one and not the other can actually...
Oh, it breaks it.
I think at least that glitch where your gun despawns. So I'm just going to do both.
Yeah.
But yes, so yeah, it's one of the most broken glitches in the game, and we're gonna do it twice to save 10 seconds. Yep. Basically.
It's very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, we're also gonna try to skip a tutorial here by aiming while using the locator. And this room's kind of dark, but I'm gonna attempt to do something called table boost here using a glitch called wall boosting.
There we go.
Just saves a few seconds, skips that.
Very nice, very nice.
So yeah, here's our first flashlight dupe. So we're gonna open the restore health tutorial, which is this one. We're going to use it as we hit that cutscene, which will cancel it. And then we're going to do that again. So again, every time we use that tutorial, the restore health one, it'll actually spawn the flashlight back in all the way at the locker. And pressing interact after it spawns in will grab it anywhere on the map, no matter where you are, what direction you're facing. And then doing so will then cancel any cutscene or animation that you're in. So
you might be asking, well, why can't you do it for any cutscene in the game ever? It's because
I was going to ask that.
So after Chapter 1, this chapter isn't even loaded anymore, so that locker doesn't even really exist. So using that tutorial, it basically does nothing, which is pretty unfortunate. But
yeah, the game only loads has different maps that it loads, and usually it'll be 1 to 2 chapters in the game per map. So once we get to chapters 2 and 3, which is one map, chapter 1 does not exist anymore, and opening that tutorial will not spawn the flashlight in anymore. Also, you actually do get another restore health tutorial up here from a different flashlight or health pack, and that actually removes flashlight duping. You could not pick this up and continue to do it in chapter 1, but we're not going to do that. Actually, we want to use it here because that will give us full run speed back, which will allow us to do another trick here. We call this the cha-cha slide.
oh yeah,
Because you have to do 2 stomps in order to set up the timing for
Who
for
stops
doing
his
this.
time?
yeah. So for more detail here, what Sharkhat is doing is he is turning his game to 5 FPS. And what that does is if an elevator is moving down and you are running forward into the wall of an elevator at low FPS, you're actually able to clip out of it sometimes. So he's using a very specific timing in order to get out of bounds. From there, what you saw him do was called a door dive. So because we knew the location of the door beforehand, we were able to find a lineup that allows us to basically interact with that door. And when we interact with that door, it's going to load in this room all around us, which causes us to skip the vast majority of chapter 1.
Oh.
And also this boss fight, he's doing without a gun because we actually skip the
There we go.
store to get a plasma cutter. Or not
Yeah,
the store, sorry, the cutscene.
It was
we
a
skipped
very good
yeah.
fight, very clean.
very
Yeah,
clean.
for those that don't know, yeah, you again, you're supposed to have a gun there. So if you've played this game before, that probably looked very silly. We also skipped getting 2 pretty important things that you might get in your casual playthrough here, which is stasis, an ability that lets you slow down enemies. We are not getting that. Unlike Dead Space 1, when you skip stasis, you don't get it back later. Same with kinesis. So we actually did have to pick up kinesis there. You actually can get to the boss fight faster than what we did, but you actually cannot get even into that vent unless you have kinesis. So
It's
that
the
is
best
required to
category.
beat the game. Yeah, we have a separate category called Kill the Tripod, where you just beat the first boss as fast as possible, and you use that that route instead, which has some very cool tricks as well, abusing flashlight duping some more in some very cool ways. So we picked up the plasma cutter there. Again, we also skipped picking up the plasma cutter as well as the suit. We are going to be beating the game with the patient suit here. And again, you're not supposed to be able to leave chapter 1. The game forces you to get a suit normally in order to beat it. So we skipped that. We did pick up the gun because we do need it in order to beat this chapter. You cannot beat chapter 2 without shooting. So that's why we did that.
Yep. I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on low FPS and basically FPS in general in this game. This game requires, for this trick actually right here, this game requires high FPS. And there's also ways that, for example, if we didn't allow FPS toggling with external software, it would be very, very difficult for some people to do tricks that require that low of FPS. It's very difficult for some people to do tricks with high FPS as well, but it's kind of what we're stuck with. And so that trick that you saw him do just there, by the way, is called pot plant boost. So he's using the mechanic which is called wall boosting, where if you have high enough FPS, which is normally around 200, you're able to gain height on certain surfaces. And he just abused that there to get out of bounds, and he ran to a different checkpoint, which is further in the chapter. But saves about 2 minutes, I would say.
Yeah. You can actually do it as low as 60 FPS, that one, but it's
that's right,
it's a little bit more inconsistent when you get that low, unfortunately, but yeah.
Can't you do it at 30, we found?
No, I've never been able to do it at 30. I don't think so, but yeah, and actually, so we killed all those enemies really fast there as well, using the explosive sacks to insta-kill the other exploders as they spawn, because normally you can't kill them unless you deal extremely high damage to them for at least a few seconds after they spawn, so we just do that to kill them a little faster. We also kill that enemy called an Infector really quick there to open this door, and then we're going to do our first hack panel of the run. So there's 8 possible directions you can aim here, and it's random every time. You got to find the 3 blue nodes. We've gotten pretty good at doing them pretty quick.
Yeah. If you're wondering about RNG, that's kind of, there's like not that much besides those. That's kind of it.
Oh, you're forgetting about the transport
Well,
hub.
okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll get to
Yeah.
that. We'll get to that.
There is randomness with item drops and a few enemy spawns, but it doesn't really matter that much. I am trying to collect as many resources as I can because we want to buy 2 guns in the next chapter pretty soon here, and we want about 20k credits. So I've been picking up some other items here and there as well, as you might have noticed. That's the reason why. We do also need some ammo. There was an older Chapter 1 skip that actually gives you infinite ammo. You still see that in hardcore difficulty speedruns. I think there's some people's any percent PBs might still do that route, but we don't do that anymore. It's faster not to grab the infinite ammo. So we do actually need a little bit of ammo as well.
Yeah, but it's fun though.
But most of it is to sell. Yeah, the infinite ammo route is very fun.
I feel like that just tells you how broken this game is when an infinite ammo glitch is not useful.
Yeah, so you'll
it's
notice
just not
and
fast. Yeah,
I wanted to talk about this as well. You'll notice he is killing these enemies extremely fast. This game on casual difficulty is very easy. And so our time with enemies is going to be next to none. Most of the focus on this run is going to be about the movement and more specifically the skips that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of combat in this
This is
in the 80% run
the
anyway.
hardest combat room, I would say.
Yeah, this is the hardest combat chapter in the game for sure.
Yeah.
There are some other fights. We're actually gonna do one or a few of them in chapter 3 as well, but or I guess just one now. But
Yeah, just literally just
yeah. But
Is there a strat to
the-
this fight? Do they always come in the same spot? I don't
They
remember.
do.
for the most part,
Okay.
yeah, these 2 enemies right here can do something slightly different, but for the most part, it's the same. You want to just grab the spikes from one enemy, throw them at the other, because the TK impale damage pretty much kills them in one hit.
Mhm.
I will also say the guns in this game are very strong. Even on harder difficulty speedruns, you can still kill enemies pretty fast. But yeah, so we do play on casual because it's the fastest. We do have categories for Zealot and Hardcore as well. Hardcore is a very cool speedrun as well because there's no checkpoints in that mode, so it affects the routing of the glitches and out of bounds that we do quite a bit. Yeah, that takes us into chapter 3 here. So like I mentioned, we do need to do a forced encounter here and then buy some guns. We're just going to kind of run past these guys here. Just ignore them for now. He's kind of getting in my way.
Yeah, Sharkhat, you're gonna be buying the line gun and the javelin gun if I'm correct, right?
That's right. Yeah, both those guns are very good. Going to save us a lot of time later.
Especially the line gun.
Yes. Yeah, the javelin gun is more of a small optimization in this category, but it does still save time to grab it, so we're going to do that. I saved this guy for last because he actually does not count towards clearing this room. He was actually that guy in the other hallway who followed us in here. Oh, I got a medium med kit there. That's crazy. It's a crazy
That's
drop
actually
again.
crazy.
It's a really good drop.
That's very lucky, yeah. Yeah, we should have plenty. I got another stasis pack drop in the room back there as well, which also sells for a lot, so I think we'll be...
So we actually don't lose time going to the store here, so it's optimal to go to the store right now, because we need to wait for this video call to end anyway to progress, so now's a good time to use the store.
Yeah, so I could have
don't
actually
lose any
taken,
time.
I could have taken even longer there, but as long as we're in by a certain point, we don't lose time. In fact, using the locator here, we actually know that we're at the end of the elevator ride, because you can't use the locator while you're moving for whatever reason. But
Yo, go for hack panel skip.
yes, there's. I'm not gonna do that, but yes, you can save like a second by doing a crazy trick here to cancel the animation of opening the hack panel by clipping halfway in the floor, far enough that you get the fall animation, but not far enough that you actually clip through the floor. Yeah, if you miss it, you just die though. So so not really worth it.
That's pretty worth it, honestly.
Yeah, it only saves like 1
You
second,
are the
if
only
that.
person to ever attempt it, I think.
I think I've attempted it as a joke before, but not like super
Gotten it
seriously.
once, no?
I don't think I've saved time with it in a run, but
Okay.
it is a thing you can do. Oh yeah, this room pretty straightforward. The fastest way to get this vent to open is actually to close that decompression vent over there. Otherwise, you got to wait a little bit longer for whatever reason. And we're just gonna completely ignore these enemies. So,
we
like
don't
we
need to fight 'em.
mentioned, the physics in this game are dependent on the frame rate. Sometimes we want low FPS, sometimes we want high FPS. Here, we're going to go low FPS again for a few seconds for a save station clip. We're basically going to abuse the momentum we get from interacting with a save station to clip through the floor, which will put us into our first 0G area, where we can kind of fly around freely. As long as we stay inside the 0G box, so I do have to be a little bit careful not to go too far left here. Fall. And I am gonna do a another door dive here, which again is where we open a door and interact with it as we fall, and it'll actually load the level in around us.
Yeah,
Just
so
like that.
so normally there you would do a checkpoint restart, but because we're using RTA strats, the checkpoint restart takes like 10 seconds, so it's faster for him to do that door dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the loads removed, it's a little quicker to reload, but yeah, otherwise we'd be sitting there. All right.
Yeah. So
and then-
unfortunately, this is
go ahead.
bit of downtime here, but we are coming up on the fight skip here, which is
Yeah.
I think this is the newest skip in the game. Am I right?
Nope.
It was until a little while ago. There's a few things in Chapter 4 that are different now. I will say though, if you have anything to read, this would be a good time, and then we'll jump into the next skip here.
Wonderful. You love to hear it. Thank you so much. I see we just went shopping for some guns in game. Chat, I think it's time to open up some deals. And when I say deals, I mean 2 for 1, because we've just opened up the Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 100% category upgrade. That, if met, will have Nerd Squared upgrading to a 100% run, which will require them to find all the VHS tapes and notes and put the tapes into the players they belong to before moving on. That is set at $300. That, meeting that donation incentive, will get us also to the milestone to do the Point Hope Lighthouse incentive for Phasmophobia. So, folks, that time is coming up. Get those donations in, and don't forget, at the bottom of the donation page, apply your donation to the incentive to get that Poppy Playtime upgrade.
All right, awesome, thank you. So yeah, that was the fight skip we just did. Yeah, go ahead, Raj.
I'll explain. Yeah, I got you. So it was very, very quick. So what you saw basically was Sharkhat was abusing the way that the loads work in the game. So like we mentioned earlier about loading, it happens on a smaller scale as well. So when you open one door, sometimes the room behind you deloads, or that's just an example, but it can work in any way like that. And so
Speaking of which, yeah.
yeah. Speaking of which, it's what's happening right here. He was using a deload right here to where the room behind him deloads, and because there's a fuse on the other side of that door where he shot the line gun mine, he was able to abuse that by running and hitting a separate load, and so that actually allows the fuse to break because of the line gun mine.
Yeah.
Now,
not to. Yeah,
Oh boy, the worst skip in the game.
Yeah, not to interrupt your explanation of the deloads. We'll get more into deloads later, but yes,
Yeah.
we are doing something called a floor clip here. Yeah, Raj, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so like we talked about with FPS, this is another trick that requires FPS. At high FPS, whenever you stand on, I guess, like small tables, basically, a lot of the times you will actually clip through the floor if the floor is not thick enough. And this is one of those instances where we're able to get on top of that table, and using a very, very specific setup, we're able to floor clip through the floor. We then are able to use a wall boost to get on top of the level, and because of that, we're able to do what's called a stomp launch. Now, again, these are a lot of terms that I'm using, but a stomp launch is essentially what it is essentially is that when you're standing near the edge of like a surface, and whenever you stomp, you get a lot of speed. And so we abuse that by using a stomp to throw us basically towards a door that's all the way, not even in Chapter 4, it's in Chapter 5.
Yeah, we are at the end of Chapter 5 now.
Yeah, we're at the end of Chapter 5. So.
Yeah, and while we kill these enemies here to unlock this door, basically this will be a common thing across the whole game. So when you leave the ground, when you start falling in this game, your horizontal speed gets locked. So that's why stomp launches work. You get a little bit of a speed boost while going off the ledge, so you keep that speed the whole time. You do fall and accelerate, I guess, more or less normally. Like you start falling slowly and then you accelerate, right? But horizontally, your speed just gets locked, which we're going to use to our advantage here as well. This trick is called Leap of Faith. It's pretty tricky. We're going to do something called an elevator clip, using some more low FPS shenanigans. But basically, when you call an elevator, it doesn't want you to run out of the elevator, right? So it spawns an invisible wall where the door is, while the door actually closes, so you can't just like run out, right? So at low enough FPS, the that load is delayed for that invisible wall appearing. So we're gonna be able to clip out of this elevator, and we're gonna try to place an explosive to get a damage boost, and run out at a very specific time here. So I'm actually going to be using my timer here to try to run out at almost exactly 3.4 seconds. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna try to set this up here. We got the elevator.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. Looks good.
This looks
That looks
promising.
really good.
Yep.
Okay. Now I
Nice.
just
Oh wow.
Oh,
ooh, that was a little
Wait.
scary. We got it. Let's go.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
So that skips that
Nice.
elevator ride there. Very scary.
I don't even think that saved time in real time.
Oh no, it does. It saves a
absolutely
lot.
No, but
actually.
it
is.
absolutely does.
Does it?
Yeah, it absolutely does. It saves like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a longer ride than you think. Yeah. But,
yeah, that
yeah.
to put
Yeah.
that into perspective, you are timing it kind of it's kind of like within 10 or like something milliseconds. You
It might
have
be-
about 10 milliseconds to clip out of the elevator.
Well, 100, but yeah.
Yeah, 100 milliseconds to clip out of the elevator, to place the line gun mine down correctly at the correct time, and to also get the deload.
Yeah, the trick is like once the elevator leaves, the level unloads. So you need to get hit by the mine while the level's loaded, and then have the level unload before you hit the ground again, so that you keep the speed. So yeah, there's like around a 1/10 of a second window you have or less to actually run out of the door. So that's why I was pause buffering it there.
You actually saw him land on top of the level at the bottom. There is actually a way to hit the checkpoint directly. I've only done it one time. I've never been able to do it again.
Yeah, the lineup's very precise. I didn't even do that precise of a lineup because you just got to land on the ceiling.
Yeah.
But but also lore-wise, this is Dana. She's trying to contact us at the beginning of the game, saying like, "Hey, Isaac, we can cure you of the stuff the marker did to you." She's actually a unitologist. They're people that worship the marker. They actually want him to build another one.
He is now dead.
The government doesn't like that, so they kill her and her crew. They also want to kill us because we can destroy the marker that they have, that they made us build for them. So that's what's going on there. While we go into this little boss fight, it's more of a quick time event than a boss fight. It'll be another great time if you got anything to read here.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. We have a $3 donation from Sweegob who says, "Dear sharkhat87, don't throw. Much love, Sweegob."
Thank you, Sweegob. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that.
Yo. Slander in the chat about me. What's that about, Reddit?
My bad.
So this is the Tormentor. Again, not a super crazy boss fight. This is phase 1. You just have to shoot the big weak spot. Now for phase 2, we're gonna try to skip that. There's gonna be a gunship flying in, and it has these canisters on it, and shooting those ends the level. But it turns out they're actually active before the second phase starts. They're active during this cutscene. So I'm gonna try to line up a slow-moving projectile shot like that. There we go. We got it. Okay, nice.
Oh,
So
wow.
that actually hits it during the cutscene and just immediately ends this.
It's a lot harder than it looks, to be honest.
I've hit it like twice. Not that I've run this game a ton, but like it's hard.
So it is very, very feel-based. Most of these tricks are feel-based. If you can get it, like, I would say, like, maybe 5 times, you're probably good for a long time, I would say.
Yeah. It's easy to
hard
mess up, though, yeah.
It is easy to mess up, but yeah. Our good pal Strauss is here.
Alright, awesome. Yeah, so now the story's moving on to, this is another patient who also helped, build the marker and stuff for the government, whatever, and he's like, "Hey, I know where the marker is, and we can destroy it, so let's go do that now," and that's kind of the whole goal of the rest of the game. So we are in chapter 6 now. So the level before was pretty crazy. Hopefully we'll have a little more time to explain what's going on now that things are, well, maybe after this, maybe after the first part of this chapter, because this chapter is also very hard. So yeah, Radish.
You're taking a save. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, so if we mess this up, we have to watch that cutscene again. So.
All right. I got you. So this is called Leaper Alley Skip, and like we talked about earlier with deloads, Sharkhat is gonna do a set of deloads here that allows him. Oh, never mind. He missed it. Wow. He's gonna try it again. He's gonna do a set of deloads here. And what you're going to notice is that, again, he is in an area where it's completely deloaded. And so what that allows him to do is he'll open the door from the other side, like that. and that loads the level where he's at right now in a way where he's going to do a specific lineup, and then once he is ready, he's going to place down a line gun mine, and it's like what we talked about earlier with the line gun mine and like kind of stomp launching. He's going to get a big boost, and he's going to land on this side of the level, and what that allows him to do is there is a massive fight in the room that you saw below him called the Leaper Alley fight, where there's like 6 Leapers, there's a lot of enemies, you have to wait a long time, and so that skips all of that. It saves, I don't even know how much it saves.
Actually, I think only saves like 20 seconds.
Yeah,
it might be like
20.
30. You can skip the elevator leading into that fight anyway, so it just skips having to like wait a little while.
Yeah.
But
Alright guys,
alright.
now we're doing another skip here. This is called jumping over Ellie skip, or Joe skip for short. Yeah, blame Topher for that name. But basically, we do a 0G clip out of bounds at high FPS in the 0G area like this. If you get into a corner and wiggle your mouse slowly up and down, you can clip out of bounds like Sharkhat did just here. And if we then go to the top of the 0G and line ourselves up, if we use Kinesis at the top of the 0G and then punch, we can then start hovering, and that's what Sharkhat's doing right here. I forget how many punches this is, but basically Sharkhat... It's, yeah, let's just say 57. So yeah, Sharkhat's gonna punch 57 times in this direction to hit his checkpoint. That was a very bad explanation.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I'll elaborate a little bit. So basically, the way that this works is that when you see Sharkhat right now when he's punching, he has probably already left the 0G box, and so the 0G box is the box that wherever that you still have a 0G state, basically. And so what punching does, whenever you have this hover that we talked about, what punching does is it actually keeps your 0G state even if you're punching out of the 0G box. And so that allows Sharkhat to hover, essentially, in quotation marks, all the way over, and he's going to punch all the way over to a checkpoint that's very, very far away in the chapter. Now, he could punch further in the chapter. He could punch all the way to what we call Transport Hub, but that does, it's too far away, and it wouldn't save time. So what he's doing here, he's counting in his head right now.
Yeah, I wasn't talking because I had to count to 57 there.
Yeah.
That should work, hopefully.
Let me see. It looks good.
And this is one of those I promise this is fast kind of thing. So this saves 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Even though you have to punch in a straight line for over a minute. But
Please don't
yeah.
miss. Don't miss.
Yeah,
don't
like
miss.
yeah, let's just see. Hold on.
Don't miss. Don't miss.
We got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice. Let's go.
So
nice.
yeah, you always with those loads, they're always the long loads are always 10 seconds at least. I don't know why. There's fast and long loads. Long loads are 10 seconds, and there's a lot of those you just gotta wait, and you're like, wow, I hope that works. I don't know. I won't know until this is over. But yeah, so yeah, like Radish said, it's the same at all 3 Dead Space games, but punching will help you store your 0G state, whether it's on or off. So you can do some kind of weird glitches. There's another one we're gonna do later called a tilt that'll also save us a bunch of time doing a pretty similar thing. So we're setting up another deload here. I can take some time to explain deloads a little bit more now that we have some time to breathe. But basically, the game loads room by room, and usually opening doors or hitting invisible load zones will load the next area. And if you initiate more than one load at once, sometimes part of the level will unload. And if you get into an unloaded area, that's very useful because in unloaded areas, doors do not have collision. So you can kind of build the level in the way that you want almost, or kind of control the way the level's loaded. Because say opening a door on one side will load one room, but loading it from the other side will load another set of rooms, etc. This is just a fun thing we do here, by the way. I can't believe it's like staying there like that. That's like a really good one.
Are you gonna get it? I have never gotten that.
That's very nice.
That was really good though.
She hunched over.
Yeah.
All right, so this is probably like the longest elevator in the game, I think. Yeah,
it's about a minute long. Yeah.
It's definitely the longest.
That's okay. Oh, I did want to say one more thing. So with deloads, so with the doors losing collision, you can use that to either get out of bounds. So let's say you just stop opening doors or hitting load zones, then eventually the level will not be loaded the further you go, and you can just walk through a doorway where a room would be, and then you just fall out of bounds. Or, like in the case we did there, use it to walk through locked doors that normally would either aren't unlocked yet, or in some cases, locked doors that are just there to be part of the level and never actually unlock, and we can walk through them. So whenever we're unloading the level, that's usually it's either one of those two objectives: get through a locked door or get out of bounds. So we use those all over the place. It's kind of like how the fight skip worked back in Chapter 3, except instead of going from one door to the other, like we did in this case, it was hit a door, hit a load zone, come back to the door, part of the level's unloaded now. Just because the game can't really handle, loading all of those things in at once. And the game actually tries to prevent you from doing that in some places. There's some cases where you try to hit 2 doors back to back, and the first door will actually wait for the second door to close before it opens. So I think the devs knew about deloads, but you can still do them in a lot of places if you know what you're doing. All right, so this is Transport Hub.
Meta, your time to shine. You got this.
I do not. Go ahead.
All right. This trick
Yeah.
has seen some stuff, and so when we talked about RNG earlier, this is actually there's 2 versions of this trick. One of the versions is actually consistent, and it does work a lot of the time. It involves, I actually forget the setup, but it's consistent, but it's slower by I think about 6 seconds. The version that sharkhat is going to be doing is not consistent, and basically the brute is going to run over to sharkhat, like you're going to see in a second, and sharkhat is going to stasis him, and he's going to pray that the brute punches him with his right hand, and that'll actually, most of the time, it'll send him through the door, skipping the fight entirely, and also skipping the cutscene after it. If the brute punches him with his left hand, it will not work. And it's RNG.
We're gonna do a setup to get the brute in the correct position, but yeah, whether he uses the left or right hand is kind of random. Now we can manipulate him to hitting us multiple times, and as long as we have enough health, we can keep trying it, unless he clips us through the floor, which is also very unlucky, but can happen. So we're just gonna do our best here and hope for the best. So let's see what happens.
This is placebo, by the way. It doesn't matter where you put your. We think, anyways.
There we go. Nice.
Nice.
The second try is
just
good.
that easy.
It's just that easy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was very nice. So yeah, basically we don't have a lot of ways of clipping through walls when we're not in 0G. Let's make sure this guy's dead. Okay, this guy kills you instantly, by the way, even from like all the way out of bounds. So you just gotta be very careful with that. Wow, that chapter 6 was really nice actually.
That was pretty good.
Dude.
Yeah, so usually you can't clip through walls when you're not in 0G, but the brute's arms have collision, and when those push you against the door, sometimes you'll go through just like that. So yeah, that's about as good a luck as I could have asked for for this run.
That's pretty good, yeah. First or second try is pretty much what you asked for, especially with the time limits that sharkhat is working with.
Yeah.
For me, I would do the other strat. But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, the thing is that the one I do, it's actually easier. It's just random, but it's also fast. It's also faster. That's the main reason I do it. But the other one is consistent, but it's pretty difficult. You only get one try at that one too, but as long as you do it, it rewards you with being consistent at least. So.
Speaking of which, we're going
This is
crazy
the biggest
right
skip
now.
in the game, by the way.
It's not. It's close to. It's close.
It used to be.
It used to be the biggest skip in the game. So this is just Chapter 7 skip, and it's what it is. You're skipping the entirety of Chapter 7. And so what Sim talked about earlier with 0G clipping, you're essentially manipulating Isaac's collision with the geometry of the level in a way that with high enough FPS, it kind of forces you out of bounds. And so what sharkhat did right there was he flew all the way to the top of the 0G box, and he set himself up in a way where if he just flew back, he was in line with the checkpoint all the way at the end of the level. It saves like probably 8-ish minutes, I would say.
It's pretty big,
and
yeah.
It's a huge skip for sure.
Yeah. So we did one more little thing here. So you're supposed to be stuck on an auto scroller there and fight some enemies while Ellie unlocks the door. But you can actually hit a so there's a trigger for locking the door and starting the fight, but they're separate. So we hit the one to start the fight, but not lock the door. So now we're just back in this area, and we can actually do some shopping while we wait. But speaking of which, if you got anything more to read, this would be a great time. We got like a minute here, roughly, I'd say.
Wonderful. I love it. Chat, I want to hear from you. I also want to just call out the 57 punches from earlier, which is very, very funny to me. Like a peak travel method there. Chat, I think we can get 57 $1 donations from the folks listening. I think that can happen, and that's all going to go toward our $2,100 goal to get the Phasmophobia Point Hope Lighthouse incentive. We need to make that happen by the end of the Phasmophobia run. So now is the time to donate. You want to make a $1 donation? You can make a $5.70 donation. Anyone want to make a $57 donation? Now's the time. And don't forget to apply it to the incentive to get the Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 100% upgrade.
Awesome.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So we're just about at the end of the auto scroller here. We're just waiting for the next dialogue line to give us an audio cue to know when we're going to go. And then once she unlocks that, we're going to be on another elevator ride, and that's going to take us to Chapter 8, which we're going to do another very big skip. We're going to skip from basically the beginning of Chapter 8 all the way to the end of Chapter 9, and we're going to attempt to do a trick besides Chapter 8 skip, also called Bad Ideas skip, which is probably, I think most people would say, is probably the hardest trick that I'm going to be going for in this this route here.
I'd say definitely for sure.
I can attest to it. It is very difficult. I'm a very good player, and it's very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never gotten it before. Not that I'm very good at this game.
Never even attempted.
Yeah. So for Chapter 8 skip, we're gonna do a deload, right? And so we're gonna open 2 different doors. Part of the level is gonna unload. In the unloaded area, we can walk through doors. We're gonna use that to get out of bounds. So once we get to the out of bounds area, we're gonna do a damage boost to land in a lower area where we'll still be out of bounds on a platform. And from there, we're gonna try to drop down to the end of the level. Now, normally, what most people do is they try to open the door to load them inbounds or hit a checkpoint. What we're gonna do is we want to open the door at an exact height value so that we are actually landing on a small platform under the door, not inbounds, not too low that we die, but right on that platform. So it's a pretty precise pause buffer timing and interact timing we need to do to open the door. But if we land there, we can kind of confuse the order of events of the last area, because you're supposed to blow up 2 tanks. One causes Ellie and Strauss to come down in a tram, and the other unlocks your path. Now, by doing them in the opposite order, we can actually enter the next cutscene before the tram actually even arrives, which normally is not possible. And when you touch that cutscene trigger, Isaac actually does a jumping motion forwards. And if we do that as the tram is arriving, we can actually get stuck outside the tram during the next cutscene, and it'll actually let us hit a checkpoint during that cutscene. All right, so you got all that? All right, awesome. So,
Cool. Yep.
yeah.
It's
Not complicated at all.
It's hard to explain it all in this short amount of time, but
yeah. But here we go.
Here's the deload that he was talking about.
Yes.
It's actually one of the more simple deloads that he's done so far. It only involves 2 doors, and each of those 2 doors controls a different load zone. So now he's going to open that door, which, like he said earlier, is going to load all of this. And what he talked about earlier with where you're able to just kind of walk out of bounds at certain doors, this is one of the doors. So instead of walking, though, he's going to place a line gun boost like he did earlier. He's going to turn his FPS to 30. That's something we haven't mentioned yet. Turning your FPS to 30 actually allows you to travel a little bit further, and that's nice. That's going to help him to get into the correct place here. And he's going to do this very, very
precise setup here.
Okay, here we go. So this is important. He's going to use that white orb for reference on where to pause.
Nice.
Oh, nice, bro.
Nice.
Yeah, you're crazy.
There we go.
Nice. So yeah,
I thought you died for a second.
He landed below the door. We talked about the door dives earlier. He landed below the door, and so because of that, he was able to, because he was below the door, he was able to use the collision to kind of clip him through the door and then below the level, so that he was able to skip all of that and confuse the order of events like I talked about earlier. Now he's just in this room like normal. There's a spinny leg, and he's going to he's going to use the canisters to blow up all of the stuff like normal. Except here, he's going to do something a little bit interesting.
Yeah, so the cutscene triggers here. He will jump forward once I touch that.
There you go.
There we go.
Ooh,
I'm
there
just
we
going to
go.
reload here because I went a little late, but usually if you go late, the reload will fix it because you'll still jump at the beginning of the cutscene here. So right here. There we go. Nice. So yeah, so we're displaced to the left here. We are supposed to be inside the tram. So that's not how this is supposed to look.
Yeah, this is one of the crazier skips in the game for sure.
It's kind of insane that this works.
This seems very dev intended, honestly.
Yeah, you guys didn't do this in your first playthrough?
I did.
Yeah, so because during this cutscene, basically during the tram, you see that like structure in front of us. So we pass by that, we stop, and we come back, and there's a checkpoint right after you get out of the cutscene where he says, "Stick around, I'm full of bad ideas." But because we're displaced to the left, we're actually gonna hit the checkpoint during the cutscene here, and reloading it will actually break us out of this this state here.
That's so cool.
There we go.
Yep. So to answer
gondola skip.
to answer Blue's question in chat, the reason why we do the deloads is so we can walk through some of those locked doors and stuff like that, get out of bounds. It has nothing to do with like the crashes. Yeah.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, and a lot of times when it looks like we're in the dark, all of the actual level collision is loaded. It's just the textures and the lights that aren't loaded. But more importantly, also the door collision isn't loaded. So the walls, ceilings, and floors are all still intact. It's just the doors that aren't there. Fortunately, the door pads are, so you can still open doors in deloads. And when you open a door, it gets its collision back. But we just abuse that to get the level loaded the exact way we want. All right, now we're gonna do engineering deck skip. I am gonna grab this checkpoint here just in case, so we don't have to do a big old run back here. But we're gonna drop our FPS a bit, makes this wall boost in particular work. If we didn't mention before, wall boosting usually is a high FPS thing. Basically, depending on your frame rate, when you run into certain geometry, it boosts you up. The basic idea is that when you run into a wall, to prevent you from going through, the game pushes you back. And also up a little bit, and at high enough frame rate, the upwards momentum you get counteracts gravity, and so you can actually climb up. Now, for some reason, there's some wall boosts that work at low FPS as well. I don't know, and they don't work at high FPS. I don't really know why, but it just works. So here,
this is very similar to what we saw earlier, actually. If you remember the skip that he just did in Chapter 8, it's very, very similar. He's going to use a line gun to boost him to a door that's way later in Chapter 10, and he's gonna actually hit the right side of that door, and now he's gonna deload again. And so we talk about these deloads, and they're very, very important, obviously, to this part of the run.
Yeah, there's a locked door we just ran through. You can see by the orange door pad. Same. This one actually never opens normally, but we can just walk right through it there.
And so you'll notice you changed your graphics, right?
Yeah, by setting the graphic quality to high, you get this effect called flares on, which makes a lot of these lights appear. Otherwise, you actually can't see anything. So it's just some nice visual cues to kind of remind me where I am in the level.
But he does, like, he would still be able to do this, by the way, without these flares. He is literally kind of memorizing where he's running. So it's impressive.
Yeah, it does help though, for sure. For sure. Like you definitely can do it without, but
I believe you can continue the deload through this 0G room, but it's not that much faster.
You could,
a lot harder as well.
If you don't open that door that I did, you could skip having to like wait for it to open, and it would eventually load this in, but you'd have to navigate some other stuff deloaded. So I usually just don't do it.
And we're pretty much at the end of Chapter 10 already, which is, blink and you miss.
We are gonna do another save station clip, which we did earlier in the run. Basically, we can abuse the save station momentum by interacting with it at low FPS, and we can clip through the floor by doing that. And that just gives us elevator ride right here.
Yeah.
This one's actually a lot harder than the rest of them, though, for sure. Nice, good job.
Yeah, it's harder because the interact range is a lot smaller for some reason.
Yeah, it's like very
those.
thin. You got to be like in a pretty particular spot. One more set of little tricks for Chapter 10. It's kind of amazing we beat this chapter that fast. We skipped the entirety of flight deck, engineering deck, basically all the medical deck too. But here, a small little optimization. We're going to open that door and then grab this tether prompt, which you can actually continue to interact with as long as you hold it. So you can actually come back to the door, which you see actually gets a little bit of the door's unloaded here. This saves like 2 seconds because you don't have to wait for the door to open.
Yo, use scrolling on it.
That will crash the game, so I'm not going to do that. We're gonna look down to delay a cutscene from playing here, and we're actually gonna be able to interact with this button here before it plays, and that's actually gonna skip that completely. That does mean the audio is gonna cut out for like a minute here, but it will return. So I guess this would be another great time if you got anything to read.
I just want to break in here real quick and say that my favorite thing is when speedrun clips are named like, we call this cutscene skip because you skip the cutscene, and then this run has like the cha-cha slide skip, and it's like, oh, that one's actually creative. That's awesome. Just want to remind everyone we are working toward that $2,100 milestone. We're getting a little bit closer with these donations, but folks, we're running out of time. So use !donate in chat and apply it to incentives that you want to see through the rest of this marathon.
All right, awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you like that one too. We have a lot that are kind of, we have chapter 7 skip, we have chapter 8 skip. But we got a few.
Those were old. Those are old news. The new skips, we've got names.
We have some good names here and there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get them covered. Don't worry.
Yeah. So Meta. So you mentioned at the beginning you learned this game is like a 12-hour challenge. You wanna talk about that a little bit real quick?
Yeah, it was painstakingly difficult. So basically what I did, I cannot remember who I was inspired by to do this, but I had heard of other people doing this thing, like a 12-hour challenge where it's a game maybe you've played casually before, but you have no speedrun experience in. In this particular case, I had literally never opened Dead Space 2. So, at around 9 in the morning, I started a 12-hour timer. And by 9 p.m. that night, I had finished my first run in like 2 hours or something like that. Like over double what Sharkhat's world record is. It was very draining, but it was really cool to be able to do like a very complicated run just in like a single day.
Yeah, no, I think it's impressive to learn it all in one day. And I mean, like playing anything for like 12 hours straight is definitely a lot, but yeah,
it was exhausting.
Cool. Yeah, and it did give me some good pointers. I redid the beginner route tutorials, like full videos and everything, sometime after Meta did that, and it was nice to get some feedback there. Having new runners come in, and because there's a lot of things like if you played the game a lot, you don't really like notice like, oh, someone may not know some of these things and may like have different questions or different or I mean everyone has different things they struggle with when it comes to learning new speedruns and stuff. Like there's some tricks some people just click with and some people don't, so but yeah, so for the beginning of chapter 11 here,
you should probably start explaining drill skip.
Yeah, maybe in a little bit here. Yeah. First things first, we are just spamming through the menu there to buy the contact beam, which is going to annihilate the final boss. It's a very good gun. I always say the gun is good. It does a lot of damage when you can't even upgrade the damage on the gun. It's not even an option.
Yeah, it just, yeah.
So that's how you know it's good.
Not to mention we're on casual where everything dies in like one shot anyway.
Yeah. Even on the hardest difficulty, you can still destroy the boss with the contact beam if you know what you're doing. So we reload that checkpoint to de-aggro and reset the enemy spawns, which is just a little bit faster. It makes it more predictable because otherwise the spawns are very random. But yes, I should probably start explaining drill skip, which is coming up in the next chapter, but we're basically starting it now. And that's because there's basically 3 tricks in a row we have to do that all lead into each other. They're prerequisites for the next. So first we have Strauss kill skip. So this is Strauss. There's a cutscene in the level where you normally have to kill him, so that's why the skip is named after that. We're basically going to skip to the end of chapter 11, at the end of the binds here. And to do that, we're going to get in the 0G area, do another 0G clip, and hit a checkpoint. And because we hit the checkpoint while the 0G box is still turned on, it'll persist, and we'll actually have 0G in the next part of the level, which is not supposed to be there normally. So we get to do some kind of funny things with that. So that's the first part here. Gonna do a bit of a weird wiggle clip through that wall, and then
that one's hardware dependent.
Crazy clip.
Yeah, it's not hardware dependent, by the way, but that's kind of a community joke. But
that's a me joke.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Strauss kill skip. Pretty straightforward. Here's where it gets a little more complicated. This is called punch up the shaft, because that is exactly what we're gonna do. So as we said earlier, punching. Oh, you didn't die. Interesting. When you punch, you maintain your 0G state. So if we start punching in 0G and then leave 0G, the game kind of treats us as if we are still in 0G, right? And that's important because when you're in 0G, you have an ability that lets you stick to walls. So we're going to use that to be able to continue sticking to walls all the way up this elevator shaft. So again, we need to punch the entire time that we're ascending here. So while still in 0G, I'm going to line this up. And once the elevator approaches us, we're going to start punching. And for the next like minute or two, we're going to be in this punch animation.
This is the most terrifying, in my opinion, skip in the game, because if you drop an input, it's over. It's chalk. You have to restart the shaft. So,
yeah, it's a very punishing trick to miss. And when it was first,
I mean,
found,
at that point, if you've got to redo this, the run's just dead. You lose like 5 minutes or something.
No, you don't lose.
It's like 2 or 3 per attempt or something, I think.
I might have even failed it in my current PB, honestly. But I definitely have failed it in PBs before.
It's a very scary trick because we have to do. So this game is not technically made to be a 3D platformer, but we are going to do some 3D platforming at the top of this elevator shaft. But it's just very punishing because there's certain setups you have to do just to make sure you can get across. And if you fail any of them, you're just stuck. Like even if you fall down the tiniest little bit, you don't have a lot of tools to gain height, so you're kind of just stuck in certain places. Now, not to jinx myself, I don't think we need to worry too much. With the experience I have with this trick, it's really not too bad. But yeah, for the longest time, it was a huge run killer. Like your nerves would be through the roof during this part in a PB attempt. Nowadays, I'm usually pretty chill. I'm usually trying to grind out every like however many seconds, so it gets like a little scary again because I'm trying to rush stuff. But otherwise, it's not too bad. But yeah, if we didn't mention this is called a tilt. If you've seen Dead Space 1 speedruns, the original, there's another glitch called tilting, which is basically the same, where you start punching in 0G, leave 0G, and you get to stick to walls still, and it actually lets you like tilt the entire orientation of the map, which is kind of cool. Kind of like, almost like Super Monkey Ball, you kind of like tilt it a bit, but imagine like the level like stays like that permanently, basically. So yeah, this looks pretty good. We're above this platform. That was the whole goal, was to climb the elevator shaft and land out of bounds here. We're gonna get a wall boost on this wall to gain some height, and then very carefully make it over to this platform. We're gonna kill these enemies, which is important to unlock a door, which we'll come back to that later. We're gonna do another drop down here to land on the ceiling, and then we're gonna do one more little platforming sequence to hit a checkpoint and put us in chapter 12. There we go.
You are brave.
Nice.
Nice.
So that's punch up the shaft. Okay, now drill skip. So the reason we need to do all of that is not only is it fast, but opening this door from this side plays a cutscene normally, but because we are not loading the level properly by hitting that, that checkpoint and everything, the cutscene doesn't play. So you might be wondering, why'd you do that? Well, you'll see in a second. First, we're going to do a wall boost to skip a cutscene. We'll come back to that later, too. We are invincible now. That explosion will not hit me, not damage me at all. And the reason is because a lot of cutscenes give you invincibility, so you can't die while you're watching a cutscene, right? Like if an enemy hits you or you lay an explosive, you won't just die during the cutscene. Now, because the cutscene's not loaded properly, it actually gives us the invincibility, but it doesn't play the cutscene. And since the cutscene doesn't end, we just keep it. So I cannot gain or lose health. And more importantly, we can't die to the fall timer, which we haven't really talked about yet. We're also going to use low FPS to clip through that moving platform there. Also real quick, I'm going to do a little bit of a funny thing here. We're doing pretty good on time, and this only loses like a little bit, so I want to show this off. But basically, we skipped that cutscene, right? Well, the cutscene trigger is still there, so you can have this funny little overlap while the drill turns around.
Nice.
We're playing 2 cutscenes at once, right?
Basically, yeah. You have to wait for the drill to turn around, so yeah, you're overlapping that with the cutscene. But yeah, yes, you do get dialogue from a second cutscene at the same time. So, yeah, this is not what's supposed to happen, obviously.
This wasn't intended by the developers? Are you sure?
No. I mean, maybe. You never know. Developer intended is subjective, right? So, I mean, we don't know. But yeah, so when you fall for too long in the game out of bounds, there's a timer that runs, and when it expires, you die. And that's just a soft lock prevention thing. You're not really supposed to fall. In fact, a common thing you see on comments on speedruns of this game is people saying, wow, I didn't even know there was a fall animation. And you can kind of tell too, because it doesn't actually loop properly. After like a second or two, you abruptly like jump back to the first frame of it. Which is actually good for some setups and things for tricks, coincidentally. But I'm backtracking for this panel here. This will be very important, so that's why I'm grabbing this. That's why that cutscene thing is kind of slow, but I don't know. I think it's funny. So it also does prevent a soft lock to do that. So yeah, for safety and whatnot, it's actually kind of nice. But basically, the TLDR is we need to fall a great distance, and it is too far to survive the fall timer. So that's why we need to become invincible. I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you all, but this is the most complicated part of the entire game as far as tricks go. But we use that panel to jump out of bounds. And now we're going to set up the actual main part of drill skip. So I'm setting up my facing angle here. Just like that. All right, so now I'm gonna fall, and you'll see me looking over at my other monitor here, and the reason for that is I'm actually also using my timer to be able to tell how long I'm flying. So the area where we did Strauss kill skip, so it's a 0G box that we were in the previous level, is still loaded in below us. So we're there now, we're back in chapter 11, technically. And now while I'm looking at my timer, I'm gonna be flying left for a certain amount of time, and then flying back for a certain amount of time until we get to the edge of the 0G. And the reason for that is that the next level is going to load in basically right below where we're going to be ending up, right? And because of that, we're trying to time it so we fall into it. Because it's not loaded yet. There's an auto-scroller going above us. Once we get on the drill, it just continues. And while it goes along its path, it continues to load in the rest of Chapter 12. And once it gets to the very end, it's going to load in Chapter 13. Which is where we're basically heading towards right now. But again, we have to actually wait for it to be loaded in. So we're just gonna fly for another like 10 seconds here, and we'll be in position, and then we'll be chilling. So again, I know I threw a lot of information at you all over the past like 10 minutes here, but it's all one thing that leads into another. If you don't do the trick to make the 0G box persist, it won't be here now. If you don't do punch up the shaft, you can't become invincible. If you can't do that, you can't do this. It's a lot, but that is pretty much all you got to know for that. And now we're actually gonna wait here for about a minute and a half for the auto scroller.
I promise this is fast.
I promise this is so fast.
This is actually the biggest skip in the entire game.
This is so fast, guys. I promise.
Like
yeah,
8 minutes or something, doesn't it?
Around 10.
Like super drill.
It's like a little under 10, I think. Yeah, something like that. I believe.
There is a trick that saves even more time than this.
Yes, so this...
It's not really marathon viable, though. It's very, very difficult.
I have done it in marathon settings before, but to be honest with you, I think this version is more interesting. This route, I think, as a viewer, is cooler.
Oh,
because we get to do some cool tricks in Chapter 13. So we were talking about naming conventions for tricks, right? How like funny they are. So we had drill skip, right? We call that OG drill skip now. Well, then we found a faster drill skip. So that was extended drill skip. Then we found this, which is even faster. So this is super drill skip. And then we found another one that's even, and again, when I say even faster, I mean like, oh, this saves like 2 more minutes. Oh, this one also saves 2 more minutes. So yeah, then there's Giga drill skip. So very silly, but that version is in the world record. That saves another like minute 45 over this. But yeah, we are doing super drill skip. We're actually getting pretty close to the time we need to move here.
Giga drill was a mistake.
Yeah.
Waifu Runs did make a video on this, but it is fairly outdated. I think it was made before Giga Drill.
Yeah, it was made before Super Drill actually, which is kind of funny.
It is pretty outdated.
Yeah, cool. It's a cool video though, and it
is a good video.
It goes over a lot of the stuff that we talked about here. We did get it, which is great. It's not a very hard trick, at least this version, but it is a relief because if you miss that, it's not great.
It's very sad.
You lose you lose a lot of time.
Yeah, I have a safety save. I could have loaded. It would lose like 4 minutes, but I mean it's fine. Yeah, so we opened that door there to load in the level, and now we're all the way in Chapter 13. We're a pretty decent chunk into the level, in addition to skipping all the cutscenes at the end of the drill. Now, you might have remember when I said we were invincible, right? We still are, and we are going to be until we reload checkpoint. So there's going to be a few things you might see happen here. You might wonder, like, why didn't you take damage? Are you cheating?
Yes.
Well, if you think glitches are cheating, then I guess maybe. But no, we're not using cheats. Again, it's crazy that this game has an infinite ammo and infinite health glitch. There's actually an infinite air glitch that we technically have right now too, because this suit does not have an air meter. So which I guess we never mentioned. Also, yeah, these lasers can't kill us because of the glitch, split glitch. That's instant death normally.
SMH Sharkhat.
That doesn't. It only saves like a little bit of time just running the other way around. But
Dead Space 2 any% is basically just turn Isaac Clarke into a god. Like.
Yeah, over the
Pretty
over the course
much.
of the run, you just get more and more powerful, pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, the infinite air thing. Yeah, so you would have noticed when you go into any vacuum in the game, our air meter does not appear. That's actually really useful in other categories where you actually need.
Are you gonna
to
do the
exceed
skip
the
here,
max air
Sharkhat?
limit. Yes.
Of course you're gonna do this.
Would you like to explain it, Sim?
Yeah.
Nope, no thank you.
Alright, well, so this is, I'm actually sad that this is not in the run anymore. I don't, oh, Sharkhat, come on, bud.
You messed it up, Sharkhat.
He ran
Well,
away. I don't know if you can actually push him back.
Well,
I
I'll
guess
go
not.
ahead and explain it anyways. This skip is what's called an enemy deload, and an enemy deload is essentially where an enemy holds open a door, and he's actually gonna run and hit the other door, and hopefully,
Yeah.
probably not.
I don't know if he'll come back. He kind of he kind of decided to run away.
Yeah.
I think he might have been too far away when I shot him, but
Basically,
well.
it's a
yeah,
pretty minor time save.
it's
but-
a minor time save, but it is
Yeah.
cool. It allows him to get a deload through all of this room, and it only, I mean, it kind of saves him from the brute fight and from maybe dying here as well.
Yeah, I remember. So yeah, so normally you wouldn't reload checkpoint there either, and I remembered that that thing I said about how you lose your invincibility when you reload. So normally you would just be invincible here. I've never seen that before.
Are you, bro?
His hitbox
I
of
mean-
spawning in blocked from moving. I actually didn't even know it was possible.
It's unfortunate.
It's kind of cool, honestly. I didn't even know that. Wow,
sure.
that's a lot of interesting things happening here. Yeah, the goal though again is to be able to run through all these locked doors and stuff. I'm just gonna kill that enemy instead. And
Yeah,
then
so
do
by
this
the
hack
way,
panel.
that was like a very scary brute that spawned behind us, but it's a one-shot kill with a long gun mine. So, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
casual difficulty.
Casual difficulty.
Hey man, on hardcore it's only 2 shots, so I mean, it's like I said, the guns in this game are really good. That's with no upgrades, by the way. That enemy goes down in two line gun mines. I don't know why though, because the regular brutes go down in 3. Couldn't tell you. I'm pretty sure those are supposed to have more health, but again,
Bug.
who knows?
Oh yeah. Now we
Alright.
got yo, do save station fly.
I will not. That is a cool glitch that does soft lock your game.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if you remember one of the tricks we did earlier in the game, similar idea here. We're basically going to interact with the button and get out of the elevator before it blocks us from getting out. And now we are in chapters 14/15. Well, we were in 14 for like a second there, and now we hit a checkpoint in chapter 15.
And by the
Fortunately,
way,
because the level's below us, we can hit.
It's the
yeah,
end of
checkpoint,
chapter
yeah.
15.
Oh, by the way, final boss right now.
Yeah. The game.
Ooh, how did
Sharkhat.
that?
You're bad!
Oh, my
How
God.
dare you?
I mean, how do you miss that? That's.
Oh my god, Sharkhat, you're bad.
We'll just do that again.
I actually don't know how that
I,
missed.
I actually don't either. That looked really good. That should have worked. That one, for sure.
For sure.
For sure this time. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay, so here's the final encounter. Tideman just spawns in immediately there. So we actually skipped a load zone behind us, so he's supposed to already be standing there. Nicole is supposed to be standing here as well. She is not going to be here loaded in at all, so it'll make the rest of this cutscene look pretty funny. But yeah, that is pretty much the end of the run. We do have to do the final boss and a final little outro sequence that takes a few minutes. But yeah, wow, this has gone by fast. Yeah.
The final
as you can
boss is
probably
gonna be
tell-
gone even faster.
That's true. Yeah, this game has a lot of insane tricks and stuff. If you like this run, I definitely recommend you checking out some of the other categories. Hardcore difficulty is also very cool. No checkpoint reloads again, so it affects the routing quite a bit. No Chapter 7 skip. Just a lot of really cool stuff. We've done a lot of really cool stuff with this game in the past few years, especially past like 5 years, I would say. But yeah. And the rest of the Dead Space runs are super cool too. You should check them out as well. So we're going to turn on VSync, which I've been doing throughout the run to lock the game to 30 FPS for various things. And for whatever reason, it will make sure that the marker hitbox or weak spot stays open a little longer than usual. And if we time our shots fast enough, we can kill the boss in 3 contact beam shots. 1 on Nicole to open the marker, and then 2 more on the weak spot. And that is boss dead.
Nice.
Yeah, that's just how good the gun is. Yep. That's just how good the gun is. Even with Cutter on casual, it takes forever. But there you go. So we got about 2 minutes here before the end of the run, but I just want to say in a preliminary way, thank you for watching. Thanks for having me. This is my main speed game. Probably the speedrun I put the most time and effort into, so it means a lot to me. It's always very fun to show off the game and talk about all the cool tricks and just kind of show it off. When I first watched the run, I didn't even think there were going to be any skips or glitches. I was very wrong, unfortunately. And yeah, like I said, if you want to check out any more of the runs, you definitely should. Very cool series of speed games. My commentators, would you like to say anything else? Or any shout-outs or anything? Shout-outs to the whole community, by the way, as well. I know I saw some community members, Looney, in the chat as well. So, but yeah, commentators, take it away.
I have nothing to add. It's been a blast running this game. I don't play it anymore, but, you know, it's fun watching you play it, so.
Yeah, I haven't played this game in 2 years or something, but yep, it's nice to see you play it.
Sim, when are you gonna run it again?
2027.
There you go. That's a promise.
Do not
Heard it here
believe
first.
Meta?
Go ahead, Meta, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to learn this game, there is some great resources alongside a very helpful community. The game is very difficult, but we do kind of have like a beginner route, as Shark mentioned earlier. There's a whole lot of strats that you can, you know, opt in or opt out of. And yeah, it's a fairly accessible game in that regard. So if this game interests you at all, absolutely come on into the Discord. You can find it linked on speedrun.com. And yeah.
Yep.
Learn it. It's fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of options for, oh, I don't want to do this trick. There's like usually alternatives for everything, alternate strat setups, all that stuff. All right. So
time is coming
gonna,
up, by the way.
Yeah, the run's gonna end in about 30 seconds here. So I'll let you know when it's getting a little bit closer, but that's about where we are. Yeah, and then once we call time, that's pretty much all I got. So yeah, then we'll just be throwing it back over to the host for anything else. Anything else you gotta read or say at the end here? But here we go. We got about 5 seconds left here. And time.
Yeah,
GG.
Thank you.
GG.
What was
Very
the
good
final
run.
time, pal?
Looks like
106.33.
nice.
Haha, you did not beat me.
Is that an in-game time?
That
Did you have
is
the timer up?
a 102 in-game time. That's actually
that
really
beat
good.
Nice.
I started my timer late, but it should be like a 102, like 40 or 50 something.
Oh.
Nice. Very good run.
Don't tell me that beats me, bro. Hold on.
That does by about 10
No.
seconds.
It
Yeah.
might. Well, yeah.
So yeah, for context to everybody, so Radish is in second place, and so if the run that Shark just did just now was like leaderboard viable, it would tie for first place, or it would be second place. I guess.
Yeah. That actually went really well. Yeah, no, honestly, that run was very solid. Yeah, I mean, besides like the last chapter there, everything honestly went really well. We got lucky with transport up too, so that was awesome. Yeah, again, I started my timer late, so I think it's like a 102, like 40 or 50 something, but I don't know exactly. But no, 102 is like really good, especially for like a live
102
setup.
is a very respectable
Yeah,
time.
that's like it's better
For
than
what
my
it's worth,
practice.
that's about
Yeah,
it's about 20 minutes faster than my personal best.
yeah, better than my practice runs for sure. So that was awesome. But yeah, thanks for having us. That's Dead Space 2 any %. So thank you for watching, and yeah, if you got anything else to read here, I think we're pretty much done. So I'll throw it over to you, or if we're ready to go to the next game, make sure everyone sticks around for the rest of the marathon. So, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that great run of Dead Space 2. We made it, folks. We made it through the horror game. It was great. Love the skip names, love the showcase of skill, and the chemistry with commentary. You'll love to see it. When I'm in chat with my friends, I know I'm always ripping on. It's just fun. So thank you so much for showing that to us. We are making our way toward the $2,100 incentive milestone to get to the Phasmophobia Point Hope Lighthouse extra part of the run, but we are running out of time, folks. As we mentioned before, we have until the end of the Phasmophobia run, which is coming up next. So we have until the end of that run to make that milestone. It's about $270 away. We can absolutely close that gap. And we are closing that gap in part thanks to this $25 donation from Mel1997, who says, so excited to share Galsmo with my bestie Grace later tonight and raise money for an amazing cause. Thank you for that donation. I'm so excited. Mel1997 is one of our 2 runners, in addition to Princess Shortcake, in the upcoming Phasmophobia run. So, in addition to that, we've also got the Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 100% upgrade incentive. We need to raise $300 to make that happen. We have currently raised 28 out of that, so we're about 10% of the way there, and we just need to get that before the beginning of the Poppy Playtime run. As a reminder, folks, if we meet that Poppy Playtime incentive, we will also hit the milestone for the Phasmophobia incentive. And as mentioned before, that Phasmophobia incentive should be very, very scary. So the environment in the lighthouse is very cramped, and the players could find themselves in some incredible danger if a ghost decides to begin a hunt. So stick around, go have a stretch break, get some water if you need it, hydrate. If you got pets, pet them for me. Stick around and we will be right back with you.
Unreachable, now I'm on the other side.